So, Regulation Battle. Regulation Battle is essentially a special tournament that Digimon provide to local game stores where you can essentially get some additional promo cards for playing in a specific tournament. Previously it was for like commons and uncommons only, and this time it is for trait specific decks. So stuff like Nature Spirit and Excel. However, I looked at the pricing for this event, pretty excited to see what was going to be, available for this event. And I got very disappointed. And that made me think about a year and a half ago where I talked about the Digimon regional pricing for 2024 and how I was quite disappointed with that also. And so today I want to talk about pricing in Digimon. Has it improved? Has it degraded? And what can we do to potentially improve pricing in the future? Before we get into that though, I want to say please subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps me make more content like this. And if you're looking to pick up any cards from any card game, use my Big Orbit affiliate link down below and you'll save 5% off at checkout. Before we get into pricing as a whole, let's go back to the regulation event. Regulation event requires you to play in a specific rule set, and this time you have to play with specific trait Digimon. And because of that, you'd think that, oh, if you're playing specific trait Digimon, surely the pricing would reflect that. So maybe you get like a DM alternate art, or you get like an Excel alt art. Well, unfortunately, that is just not the case, and Bandai have thought that you want ST19 Shumon and EX6 Bastemon, both of which are not trait Digimon. You can argue that the Shumon is, but Liberator is such a broad term, I don't think it counts. And on top of that, these cards just don't need a reprint. The ST19 Shumon is accessible in any starter deck that you get from Fabled Waltz, and EX6 Bastemon has never seen the light of day, and nobody cares about EX6 Bastemon in the meta game. In my opinion, I think it would have made more sense if they decided to actually do alt arts for trait specific Digimon, because that would go help with the continuity of the event. You're playing trait specific decks, and for the pricing, you are getting trait specific Digimon. And I think that's just pretty simple and easy to understand, but it does make me wonder why Bandai isn't doing this. It makes you wonder if they actually do care about the continuity of events and about its player base as a whole. But let's talk about something else other than regulation battles, because in the grand scheme of things, regulation battle is just like this special side event that you can do at your stores. Let's talk about regionals, which is arguably the biggest event outside of finals and world championships in the Digimon card game. Now, as it is the biggest event that you can attend for the Digimon card game currently, it does have the best pricing. However, it still feels very lackluster. So let's talk about some stuff that you can get at the regionals currently. First of all, I think the special event pack is just rather lazy. In this pack, 2 of the cards that are in this pack are already reprints from a previous event pack, the last one that we got. Only 1 card in this pack is a full alt art, which is now being reprinted as a box topper and textured. And it also features 4 cards that have not seen that much play in a long while, and it makes you wonder why they even reprinted in the first place, because they were all very accessible previously. So the special event pack just kind of feels very meh, in my opinion. Other than the reprints of Shadramon and Protoform, it's either those or bust. And as this is your main pricing for actually entering the event, it doesn't feel great. Regionals pack, however, is kind of an interesting idea. I think it's rather cool that it provides alt arts for cards that don't have alt arts previously. However, their choice of regional cards is a bit of a weird one, because I personally feel that they're not going for reprint value, they're just going and picking random cards that could be reprinted. Stuff like the Liberator level 5s are really cool in their alt arts, but they just don't have that much monetary value. And I just think Bandai are relatively lazy on this front, because if you decide to, do well at these events and get a finalist and potentially a champions set for regionals, it is the exact same artwork, just with a different stamp. I'm just gonna be straight up, nobody really cares. Like, it just feels very, very lazy. And overall, I just don't think people had the aspiration to even try and get these packs, because realistically, it's just the same art, just with a different stamp, and the stamp isn't special, so who cares? Now, if you watched my video last year about the pricing for regionals, you know that I've had a big issue with continuity when it comes to the pricing. However, this time around, they've actually improved that. So the sleeves and the playmat go together because they're both Pulsemon and Lugamon themed. However, I'm kind of getting annoyed about the fact that they are just only giving us 5 sleeves for doing well at a tournament. Like 5 sleeves, like I get it. Egg deck, right? But just give us a pack of 50. Stop skimping out on the pricing and just give us a pack of 50 just so that we can customize our decks to the max and not just the egg decks. Also, they've actually removed prizing this year. Previously in 2024, we would be able to get a serialized Omnimon, which was kind of like a saving grace for these events because you can get a guaranteed decent amount for the serialized Omnimon, but it's also a nice collector piece too. However, this year, there is no such thing as a serialized card. The prices for these events are going up, so you're getting less for more here. And the sad reality is that unless you get first place at an event, chances are you're not going to be making your money back from the event. If you account price of the ticket, accommodation, food and travel all around the place that you travel to go to one of these regional events. However, if you compare this to other games that are popular currently right now, such as Bandai's own One Piece or Disney Lorcana, pricing that you get is way better from a monetary value. So even if you don't just win the event, you still have a decent chance of getting your money back, while also getting some nice collector pieces too. So let's just recap everything about the regionals. Overall, I think the pricing is very disappointing and lackluster. We've lost certain things from 2024, such as the serialized Omnimon card, which was a big help when it comes to recouping costs, but also having a nice collector piece. So what this essentially means is that you have to win the event to actually make your money back, because the big ticket item is the playmat. Yeah, that is pretty much it. Now, what about Ultimate Cup, which was essentially the second biggest event that you could potentially go to? Unfortunate to say, but Ultimate Cups have now essentially been stripped down completely, as they are now officially just kind of like a side event for the regionals. In previous incarnations of the Ultimate Cup, you would get essentially a full Digimon line alt art. So it'd be from the egg all the way to the mega and even like some level 7s as well. However, this time you can only get 3 alt arts, one from entry, one from top 16, and then one for winning the event. Compare this to last year's 7 alt arts that you could potentially win. You can see why it's a bit disappointing this year. And funny enough, I actually think Bandai know this, because in the Season 2 changes for the Ultimate Cup, top 32 are now getting exclusive sleeves. I don't know if you're only getting 5 sleeves, but you're getting sleeves at least. However, in a weird final twist of fate, the Ultimate Cups actually do provide like sometimes more value than regionals does, because the alt arts that they provide are exclusive to those events, so you have to participate in those events, meaning they retain value. So if you get something like a top 16 like I did at Glasgow, I made my money back from the ticket. However, would I be able to get the money back from the event? No, unless I win the event and get the champion card, essentially. But I think it's clear to see that Bandai know this and they are trying to improve it. I mean, they don't have to add sleeves because, as we all know, Bandai like doing the bare minimum, but they're adding sleeves to Season 2 of Ultimate Cup, so I'm hoping that they're going to be able to adapt to change and hopefully make these events more robust when it comes to prizing. But you're probably sick and tired of me now talking about how prizing sucks for these events, and ultimately the best thing that you can do at these events is go to them and enjoy them. However, I think there are some clear things that Bandai can do to improve the prizing for any event they decide to do. So for the event packs, I think there are some easy changes that they can make to make these packs more valuable. Instead of making like Rahihimon and Altar, which is not going to see much play whatsoever anymore, why don't we make alt arts of cards that are currently meta within our format? Because Bandai are the ones that make the game, so they should have some sort of data to tell them, oh yes, this is going to be a good deck in the meta. So in that vein, why don't they look at that and then use that knowledge and be like, oh, Megidramon might be a good deck in this format. How about we give Megidramon an alt art? Not only would that card be rather expensive, but also people would want it, right? Because it is currently a meta relevant deck and people love to blink their decks. But even if you don't want to do that, why don't we start reprinting some of the more expensive cards? And Bandai are doing this. They've done it with such cards like the Protoform and the Shadramon promo. But why don't we lean more heavily into it? Cards like Leviamon, Rina Shinomiya, and Sendramon are expensive from their sets. An event pack would be really good to reprint these cards so they can be more accessible to more players, because currently these cards aren't accessible to most players. And finally, I think if anyone knows me, I've been saying this for the longest period of time, but Bandai need to make accessories more accessible to everyone. And what better place to do that than these official events like a regionals, Ultimate Cup, or even like an Evolution Cup. Stuff like playmats, sleeves, deck boxes, dice, memory counters, like these are all things that people would want. And it would heavily incentivize you to go to these events. Like if a event had a playmat for participation or playmat for like top 64, people would go for that and they would want that. Or maybe if you win the Evolution Cup, you get like a memory counter or you get some dice. Like, that would be so cool to have. But unfortunately, Bandai just really want to give us alt art promo cards because they know that, well, it's very cheap for them to do that essentially. So it's easy for them to do that. And like me and probably a lot of you guys that are watching right now, a lot of these alt art cards that you get from these events, they just kind of stick in your binder. Like, they don't really do much. And if there is one specific card that you want from a specific event, well, you get that card. And then the rest are just kind of like trade fodder. So getting stuff like playmats and sleeves and deck boxes more accessible to, you know, every other player, I think would be quite exciting. I mean, places like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! I think even One Piece does this even. Having more accessible accessories for this game would be cool. But overall, I think Digimon pricing has to be reviewed. I think small little additions and tweaks can help the pricing a lot here, and we are seeing that a little bit when it comes to the Ultimate Cup sleeves. I just hope that further down the line, this is just a complete non-issue, because as Digimon players, we expect the best, not the bare minimum. And we shouldn't be happy for just having the bare minimum. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think about pricing in Digimon currently? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What do you think can be improved with pricing in the future? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.